So you know that budget season has officially arrived when the governor sends over his recommended budget to the General Assembly. So that happened this week. They gave their presentation to the joint appropriations committee of both the House and the Senate. A couple highlights. You'll remember back we talked about that we're not currently under an actual approved 2-year budget. That was previously vetoed by the governor, never overridden, so we're on a continuing resolution. Because of that, there's actually a fair amount, roughly $5 billion of what you'd call non-reoccurring money. So it's money that hasn't been spent, but the state has brought in. And so the governor takes some of that money and spends it. So you're looking at probably a recommended budget that is anywhere from $2 to almost $4 billion more per year than what the state is currently budgeted for. Some of the highlights of what's in there, there's a fair amount of money for teacher and state employee raises as well as bonuses for those folks. On the ag side, there's some additional funding for farmland preservation. There's also a little bit of additional money for ag marketing. But probably the biggest part of the budget recommendation is actually a bond referendum. So an more than $4 billion bond referendum that would be used for large capital projects like public school construction, UNC system construction projects, as well as other state government programs. And so that's where the budget is now. Next week they'll break out and the individual budget subcommittees will hear proposals about their parts of the governor's recommendation, and then the budget process will sort of start in earnest, where the Senate will then go and break out into their particular pieces and work on getting a budget proposed. So the House this week, or last week, depending on when you're watching this, passed what has now become a biennial tradition of passing an eminent domain bill. This has gone on for at least a decade now, where the House passes a bill that would put a referendum to modify our state constitution to enshrine that public property can only be taken by eminent domain for public use. So it builds in some constitutional protections for property rights. The House has done this every 2 years at the beginning of the session for quite a while, but it's never gotten past the Senate. So maybe this year is a different year, but the House has gone through and actually passed it already.